So true.
Exactly.
I think this pandemic has actually brought people a lot closer around the world. Look at us now. I mean, we have people from Sweden, we have people from Brazil,
Yes.
Vancouver. I mean, everywhere. It's amazing.
It's made a small world now.
Michelle.
All right.
Collectively.
Good. Really good.
For me, it's been a lot. So Mohammed, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Very productive. You know, working from home has changed the way we used to think of it. When the thought of getting so productive and getting more work done than you could do in the office, it doesn't surprise me because you don't getting so productive and getting more work done than you could do in the office. It doesn't surprise me because you don't have the interruption, you don't have the drive like we talked about. So it's been just really good.
Yes, and that's part of the adapting. So I've actually been working from home for the past 10 years. So I'm used to the working from home scenario.
Yes.
And you know, whilst it's great, I think it's also very exhausting for the very reason that Muhammad said, that because we've got no interruptions, we tend to pack so much in. So what happens is in a couple of hours, you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And you get that feeling that I haven't worked this hard continuously. So there are no breaks. So what I try to do is I try to get out.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've got great weather. So I try to get out, go for a walk in my little garden patch, stretch my legs. Otherwise, you know, balance can get interrupted. Because what happens is you're so focused, and your regular 8 hours stretches into the 12 hours, 16 hours. And I frequently catch myself and I say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to sit on the sofa and I'll take my iPad with me and I'll continue doing some work. But I'll have a little bit of light news activity also on the TV. So it kind of reduces that. Otherwise, we're going to go crazy.
Right. See, this is what I do. I know that we can do this together. And I do this and take my time. And you guys can do this at any your convenient time. You know, because we miss so much, Mohammed too, right? Driving, be stuck in traffic. So I do this.
He can help. He can help you in LA. I've been going to LA for years.
Yeah, but I'm not complaining. I miss the LA traffic. No way.
Yes, you got.
What I do.
Some traffic.
You know, I just stretch my arm, extend it a little bit. You guys can join me if you want, like this and this and that.
Do you do yoga or anything like that?
Yeah.
No, I tend to kind of move around.
That's not in front of a camera, but you know,
like this.
You know, I do this.
I'm a little older than
because of our shoulders, right?
Yeah, I'm a little older.
Shoulders, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Winning pose, winning pose.
Yeah, take the time. Yeah. Hi. Hey, good morning, right? In Netherlands?
No, it's still night, evening, 8 p.m.
Yeah, I was going to say to you.
Thank you.
You're from the Netherlands, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Great. That is so true, and I found that to work for me too. On certain things, we're just not going to get a 100% certainty.
I don't
like
think.
You said.
Good to have you guys here. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Morning.
To start. Yeah, that's all right. Hey, I was just looking out the window. There is a fire. Actually, there's a fire out here going on in my region, my town.
Wow.
Santa Cruz going on since yesterday. Yeah, we do have some smokes out there. I mean, it's, you know, I think Mark was asking me that. I don't know if Mark is here.
You know what started it?
But yeah.
What started it?
There is a fast-moving fire that broke out yesterday, covered the whole town in Newhall. It's about 8-10 miles, I believe, from where I am. So we're okay as far
Good.
as you know, as far as like it's just amazing how to see the, you know, just the support from the local firefighters. There are actually about 500 firefighters total. 300 is our guys, LAFD from LA County, LA Fire Department, and 200 of that is just, you know, multiple, this kind of fires broke out, wildfires broke out, arsonists, you know?
Yeah, well, sometimes it can be by an accident. Sometimes, like you say, it can be on purpose. The one thing about LA, so I've been coming out there so many years,
Wind will bring this.
never seen anything. Take those fires and spread them so quick.
Yeah, this fire is, a lot of times these fires are started from the arcing of the transmission lines, where temperatures are, we're in the valley, we're having temperatures like 105. So they're actually having blackouts right now in LA. And what happens, and the terrain is so rugged, so they can't even touch. And they said this area hasn't burned in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least about 100 homes affected. 10,000 acres within hours when it was started ignited yesterday, and then there's a couple more small fires nearby. Yeah, it's always like, you know, the copycats kind of thing. Well, that's domestic. I think the reason was domestic reasons that happened, you know, accident kind of thing. You know, right around this area as well. But it's only like about 8-10 miles. Thank God the wind blows northwest.
Oh, yes.
Northwest. So it doesn't really affect where we live, but I can see it from upstairs bedroom, you know.
That's not far from you at all, Nicky. That's not far from you at all.
Yeah, I can see it.
It goes fast.
Right. And yeah, it's I know. So if I have to, like, gotta go, I gotta go put out the fire with my buckets of water. I'm just kidding. Right.
I'd be looking out that window too.
It's 11 o'clock already. I think I'm still letting people in. You know, you guys out there.
No need.
That if I talk over you, I don't mean it, because I just couldn't hear. Yeah, I've got all of this background and things going on. I've got 2 screens share right now. So I apologize in advance for that, okay? I don't mean that, so don't take it personally if I just talk over something like that.
Don't worry about that.
I have a delay. I apologize for all that. Audio, I think I should say, right? Well, before we start with all of that talk a while ago about the firefighters, I think we want to acknowledge all of our first responders and also healthcare delay providers, our active. Well, because on the audience right now. I don't know if Dr. Burt's here yet. I think he cannot. Well, before we start with as well, law enforcement, those who serve to protect our country for their selfless services. Along our first responders, I want to also express the condolences to those who had lost, to ask all of you, all right services, along with their families, obviously, right? I want to also express thanks to attendees and panelists to unmute yourself. Well, you guys, most of them are already unmute, right? During this pandemic. Also already unmute, right? Those who are not unmuted, please unmute yourself. And turn on your videos if you can, please. So I can see you all.
Yep, I'm unmuted.
All right. And this is what I want. This is what I want to do. I wanted you guys to say thank you by having all of the videos all at once, so I can see you all on the screens. Just say thank you. I don't know, peace sign or this sign. It's Friday. Kind of like, mellow out a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So hang on, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna say something.
Hey.
Good.
Hey,
all right. So let's do that together. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Happy Friday, guys.
Good Friday,
Good to be here. Good to be with all of you here.
Michelle.
All right. That's right. That's right.
My daughter came over as a back.
We want to welcome the attendees as well. We want to welcome our panelists. Thank you so very much, especially those who have to stay up a little bit late I promised I won't turn you into a pumpkin. Okay, that's all. I hope not.
My
Stay around with
Cinderella
me. Thank you
days
so
are
much.
over.
Nick Durrani from Canada. Nick Durrani from Canada, and
Hi.
Ramon is here. Yes, from Netherlands. All right. And also we have returning guest Frank Kelly. I see you. And also returning guest Mohammed Al-Gharabi from Michigan. Is he here still? Yeah, he's here. And I see Dr. Salah's name right here. Is he here? Dr. Salah? Okay.
I'm hiding.
And I have to say,
I said I'm hiding.
I have to say the two panelists that's on the list is speaking, Dr. Jerry from South Africa. He's already told me that he has a blackout electricity problem in his region in South Africa tonight. So he's going to try to come either or, right? So we hope that we see him later on.
Sure.
David Johnston from Australia. He said that it's 4 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning for me.
Yeah, I already did that.
However, I got to talk to him yesterday, and we'll hear his response to the questions that we wanted to ask him about Australia. Okay, so I'm glad that we have a very well-rounded panelist to start. And I got to talk to him for India and Southeast Asia. We're going to go there to those regions to cover what's going on within the regions there and how they're coping with pandemic COVID. So hopefully by the end of this series that we can, not everybody, that we can do that, go around the world in three series, right? But we're going to try as much as we can to cover those conversations, right? I'm sorry? What was that? Okay, so we can start. Sustainability is the ability to exist constantly. We all agree on that. In order for us to to guide positive changes, we need to do better. And that starts with understanding the definition of sustainability. I mean, of course, there's quite many translations right out there. But according to Webster, this is what I get. Sustainability is defined as avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance, the pursuit of global environmental sustainability. That's the translation that I got, right? So therefore, sustainability is about ecology, economy, and equity, financial side of it, right? But allow me to chime in on that in that respect. My caveat to that is that we cannot achieve all of this environmental or planetary sustainability, anything like that, if we don't have our own personal sustainability. So business owners, managers, decision makers, we all have a role to play in making our communities, our families, our home front, our business much more resilient through the choices, through these future disasters, through the choices that we make today and tomorrow. All right. So that's my short intro this morning. So like I said, I have an amazing panel this morning. Nick Durrani is sitting in Canada. He's an expert on improving immigrant outcomes, immigrant himself. His teachings are very simple and effective. He has built 2 companies. He's an expert on improving around social aspect, working with corporations, businesses to support that mission. I think is a very, very commendable. Dr. Jerry from South Africa, around social aspect later. He is the CEO of IPM, Institute of People Management, based in South Africa. David Johnston from Australia. He is the CEO of Wadela in Australia. He said to me that Wadela is pronounced differently. Okay, I say with Wadela. I have an accent, right? So we want to welcome them first, and also along the panel this morning, we still have the returning guests, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Salah, Dr. also Mohammed Al-Gharabi in the panel, and Frank Kelly, and Ramon, okay, in Netherlands. So let's go to it. I know it's pretty night and late good morning. I guess I should say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? Or good night. All of that stuff.
No, not good night. They got to stick with us for a while.
Yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thank you, gentlemen, all my guests, and all the attendees who are staying here. Yeah, it's good to be here with you guys. Good to be here. So we'll start with, let's see, Nick Narani, all the way in Canada. What are your insights in this? I know that I want to show a screen share, but let me just go ask, how is it going on over there in Canada as far as...
So hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Nicky, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm originally from India, from a city called Bombay. It was called Bombay when I left, and I still call it Bombay. I don't call it Mumbai. They just didn't take my permission, right? So, I came here from via Dubai. So I was living in Dubai before I came to Canada. And when Nicky was talking about sustainability, there are a couple of things that I wanted to bring up very quickly. One is that during the lockdown, so I'm in Vancouver, Canada. During the lockdown, you could barely, there was no traffic. There was no traffic. So my wife and I are in that age group where we are we are in higher danger, and we also have immune systems, and we have my grandkids living in the same house. So we had to be very careful. But the odd time when we'd go out, it was like, where did everyone go? And again, you suddenly saw changes in the environment. India, when the environment changed, suddenly there were, in Bombay, there were flocks of flamingos that came in. And the internet went crazy. Bombay has flamingos. I never saw them in the 40 years I lived there.
Very interesting.
So wow. What good came out of this was suddenly we realized how much harm we're doing to the place that we're living in. Our own domiciles. And so, I'm fortunate I live in a country where the environment is very important. We also have probably the same population as California in Canada, so we've got a slightly smaller population. But yes, so we found the air quality improve. We found changes, because even things like when you're going out and you're putting your garbage out, it's a lot less. It's a lot less because now you're starting to be a little more conscious of what you're doing. So I think this is the important thing. For me, speaking personally, for me, one of the biggest critical changes I had to make was my business was done. I had to start from scratch. So I had to rethink. My work is with immigrants, and as I said, I don't know how many of you were on the line that time. I think it was before the show started. I've been working from home for the past 10 years, so it wasn't that hard. But for me, what was important was, if I'm now moving from a scenario where there's basically no immigrants coming in, and so therefore there's no business to be had. But what I decided was, the reason why I started working with immigrants was to effect change.
That's right.
So in order to effect change, I went on to LinkedIn and I said, if anyone has lost their job and is looking for some help, please get in touch with me. And this is more specifically for newcomers. And I got bombarded. I got bombarded to the extent that on an average, I'd get 20 LinkedIn requests. So my LinkedIn friends went from 4,000 to 5,000 in days, literally. And so obviously there's no way I could talk to all of them. But I started working with a couple of them one-on-one. There's a guy who has been in Canada since August, couldn't get a job. Started with him first. He was my guinea pig. And so I started working with him, and then in 6 weeks' time, he got a job. So someone who hadn't got a job for so long got a job. Then there was a guy who I met. He said he came into Canada at the end of February, and then boom, there was the lockdown. When the lockdown was there, he couldn't get out. And so after the lockdown ended, he told me he didn't have any jobs. So he started, people hadn't started hiring us yet. So he started, according to him, he said, I'm doing Uber Eats. So I said, that doesn't make sense. You don't have a driver's license and you don't have a car. He was doing Uber Eats on foot.
Wow.
That was horrendous.
Walk it off. Yeah.
Woo. That was horrendous. So
That's incredible.
I had to sit down and say, I cannot sit in this nice air conditioned home overlooking the river and pretend that this is not happening. So I pulled out all stops. I started making calls. Literally, I was like dialing for a job for this guy. And at the end of the 4th day, I got him a job. And in spite, and while I got him a job, he had gone on and he had on his own because I was training. Most immigrants come here with a lot of skills, but what they need is they actually suffer from things that they've done unknowingly, which is harming them. So that brings me to another case. A guy who is a cybersecurity expert. He has 2 masters. Now this guy has more brains in his little finger than I have in my whole body. And he worked here and he's unemployed for a year. And so I'm saying to him, I don't understand why you're unemployed. And so I looked at his resume. Resume is fine. I looked at his LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn profile is fine. He's talking well. Everything's fine. What is the issue? And then I started looking at his posts on LinkedIn. And his posts on LinkedIn called everyone in Canada and the US stupid fools for not being conscious of cybersecurity. And I said, wait a minute. These are the same people you want to give you a job and you're calling them stupid fools, eh? It's kind of a disconnect, I think. So I had to take him literally through all his posts, first pull them down, and then rebrand him as the defender. So he is the defender, he is the protector, he is giving you this service. So I made him go and create a Zoom call where he'd invite people to come in, so he'd give them small tips, small business owners, and companies and individuals who are going through this whole thing where they've just picked up their computer or their desktop or their laptop and gone home to start working from home. And what is it? So it changed him mentally. So these are some of the pivots that we are going to have to start doing. You know, we're going to have to start looking at how can we start being a little less selfish, if you know what I mean, and think about us as a collective. Because
less comfortable.
It's not just my mouth that needs to be covered. Everyone else's mouth needs to be covered. I know this has become I can't believe we're having a political discussion on masks. Seriously, let's go back six months ago. If I was to tell any of you we're having a political discussion on masks, what would you say?
Foolish.
Say what? It's
stupid, right?
About time.
And so so obviously, so we've got to start thinking of us as a collective, because all of us can make this worse.
Absolutely.
And all of us can make it better. So
Amen.
The good thing that came out of this was that this whole exercise I did, it follows what I've always believed. When you give, you get a lot more than what you've given.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of this whole discussion came an idea. And so I'm now developing this idea, which again is going to be my third business opportunity, which is going to be around COVID-19. So what it does is it takes the COVID-19 world where we're moving more towards. Look at this conversation I'm having with wonderful people all around the world, and I think that's what we're going to need. We're going to start needing to create networking opportunities, which is what this is exactly. How do we create networking opportunities that can start giving us more, and we can start providing people with a lot more inputs from our side? Immigration is not, it's for me, it's not a social issue. It's an
Absolutely.
economic imperative. And if you look at what immigrants have contributed to various countries, US, for example, 60% of the IP, intellectual property and copyrights and trademarks in Silicon Valley are given to are owned by people who were born outside the US.
Absolutely.
What does that show? So so I don't think anyone in the right mind would contemplate closing immigration. But at this juncture, I am calling for, and I have talked to the governments about closing immigration. We've got to be focused on keeping our families and our country safe. People are coming in from COVID infected regions, and if there's one person on that flight, they could infect the entire plane. We can't afford that, number one. Number two, it is important that those who are right now out of jobs should get back into the workforce before we start bringing more people in, because we're competing with each other. It does not make any sense. And
I agree.
unfortunately, our current prime minister is very good looking.
Right.
It's his only redeeming feature. Guys.
He's one of those charmers, huh?
That's his only redeeming feature. My poor grandson, my grandson is 15 months old, and he already owes $35,000 debt.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, how so, Nick?
Because that's the debt that this man has built up in 6 years.
Okay, as a citizen, he's already
as a citizen.
Okay.
Yes. So our collective debt has gone
up. Not
student
debt or anything like that. Just,
this is a trust fund kid. He's the guy who turned around and said, budgets will balance themselves. And I held my head and said, forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord.
That has a lot to do with how he was taught from the beginning.
Exactly. So I was actually thinking of legally changing my name to Don Quixote. I don't know if anyone knows about this.
Certainly know Don Quixote.
He's Pancha for tilting at windmills, and I take on these fights. And I say, it's the thing is, I believe in equality, so it's malice to all. As long as you do dumb things, I'm going to call you out. And I say that to immigrants, I say that to my kids, I say that to everyone. Not to my wife, but I say that to a lot of people.
Smart man, Nick. Smart man.
Which is why I've been married for 38 years to the same woman, I should add.
Yeah, there you go. No one that gets quiet.
I have to add something to that. As a woman that has been married for 40 years to the same man, I like to be called out when I'm doing something stupid. I don't mind it. I want my husband to call me out, and he's vice versa. And I think that's important. I mean, I know you're kidding around about your wife, but if she is a good woman, I know if she is doing something that you think is foolish, she wants to be called out. I have to be called out because I want to grow properly, and it should be discussed respectfully, and I know you do that. But if we're here and any of us don't like to be called out for doing something foolish, then we have no right to tell somebody they're being foolish.
Absolutely. The only difference is I'll be a lot more diplomatic with her than with the Prime Minister.
I like it. Nick, you're right on top of it.
Nick in California.
That's why you've been married.
I think everybody's equal, though. See, that's when I say everybody's equal, I mean everybody's equal. So I'm gonna treat the Prime Minister just as I would my husband.
So in
And he's going
California,
to treat, you know, that's the part of being equal.
in California, we have a governor who looks very, photogenic, and I call him the werewolf of London because his hair is perfect every day.
I see him on the news all the time.
He'll talk for 30 minutes and you'll learn nothing.
I went to law school, so we used to call those smooth talkers.
Oh, yeah. But Barbara Frere from the LA County comes on. In 5 minutes, you know more than what he said in 30 minutes.
Well, I don't think anyone can beat this. Our prime minister took an Indian chef with him when he visited. Hold on, wait for this. When he visited India, he took an Indian chef from Canada with him when he went to India, so he could introduce Indians to Indian cuisine. I don't know.
Wow.
So, hey.
Wow.
That's just
Many
one.
of them take, you know what, Nick? Many of them take those perks in the office, and they take them with them. So
that's like taking somebody up north and bringing them down south and teaching us how to make grits. That just doesn't work.
Yeah. But you know what was worse was it was so embarrassing. Can you imagine, like when you go to meet all the ministers in India, and you've got this guy is a star. The chef he took was a star, yes. But why was he part of the Canadian Prime Minister's entourage? I don't understand that. It doesn't fit. It doesn't compute. But you know what?
And the people itself, Nick, they don't respond to that well either. They think, what the heck? Because he's not an average guy, and I think that's part of the political landscape we have today. That's why all these disagreements are going on, etc.
And it's the era of personality, personal branding. You become famous. So I keep asking people who want to become famous, what do you want to become famous about? What have you done? And they haven't done anything, but they want to be famous.
I see she wants to introduce, is this our new panelist? Nikki?
Hi.
Frozen.
Nikki?
You're frozen again, Nikki.
Yeah, I want to just interject you guys here. It's going to be about a couple of minutes, 2, 3 minutes. Is it? Hang on. Everybody's frozen. Oh, my goodness. All right. It's an interview with David Johnston. Is it? Hang on. Everybody's frozen. Oh, David Johnston. Hear me at all? Can you guys hear at all?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I hear David, though.
But you cannot hear the conversation.
No.
It's kind of blotchy.
Okay. All right. Never mind. This is what we'll do. I'll send that portion in the follow-up email or something like that. It's an question addressed by David Johnston in Australia.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what he's got to say.
To be interviewed by me. Yes, I think that's what we'll do. Okay, I'm going to jump in to talk to pass the baton to Ramon regarding that. So what do you say as far as, I know that it's late right now, so I just want to get this out before anything.
Okay.
Ramon, can you piggyback what Nick Narani was?
Yes. So when we talk about really recovering from this pandemic, I've been thinking about it as well as a young person, because I'm 26 years old, not that old as well. So I think it's important for now that what we see now with the governments, the businesses, and society really adapting itself to the current chaos. I think one thing should be really considered, which is the term technology, what it's going to be playing in our society. So the ethics of it. If you see right now, for example, in New Zealand, they actually announced for the first time a robotic AI police system. So you can actually walk to a computer in the middle of the city and ask a police AI kind of technology person how the criminality is in the region that you are living. So I think that's a really important issue to be talking about, ethics on technology. The second part is a dialogue between governments, businesses, and civil society about this current pandemic and how society can really play a role in managing the change. Because right now we see a lot of what also the guests were saying, the government's really taking the power of the citizens. Citizens can't even think for themselves anymore. So it's really important to do your own research, as Frank Kelly also mentioned. Do your own research, go online, search for these topics, as I myself do as well, which is also really important. And I think the last thing we should focus on, if we think about long term, is on youth empowerment. How are young people really going to play a role in the future in combination with technology, and how that really is sustaining our future in America, in Europe, in Asia, everywhere around the world. And I think a really good information source to look at is the World Economic Forum, because they come with topics that are really futuristic in a sense. And you can, as a young person, you can just read into these certain articles and just look at where things in technology are going towards this global pandemic, because in chaos, there's also opportunity. And I think young people should realize that they should not be in a state of chaos in their mental side of things. You know, they shouldn't be like in health issues. They should think in opportunities instead of only thinking about what's happening on the news. You know, just turn off the television for a while. Just go outside. You know, look at different perspectives on life. You know, try to change a way to not see it with the eyes of chaos, but more like opportunities. And I think as a young person, that's really important, because I'm talking about youth perspective. I'm working with them as well in the Netherlands, and on a Dutch perspective. So I'm talking in Dutch with them a lot of times. So that's what I can say about my experience talking about young people, young leadership, entrepreneurial leadership. Because I said last time, I'm from the Green Capital of the Netherlands in 2018. It was Nijmegen. Green Capital is mentioned as an award from the European Commission. So it's the most greenest city of Europe. It was in 2018. And I'm from that city. And since then, I've always organized events to bring together government, municipalities, startup businesses, youth empowerment. So I've put these people together and to really get them talk about each other on certain problems and solutions. And I think that we have to do that even more, even if it's digitally or even if it's physically. We need to start more talking about that specific topics to bring problems and solutions together. Because if we don't communicate, things just, you know, silence is the worst enemy in this regard. If there's times of chaos, silence is the worst enemy. Even if you talk to your wife, you know, your husband, if there isn't communication about specific problems, then it's not going to work out in the long term.
It becomes
Absolutely.
Yes.
of their mindset.
Right. Exactly. And what you see right now, a lot of the times, is because of this situation, young people are home with their parents, and it actually clashes with their parents sometimes in discussions. We should do this. No, we should look on the internet for more opportunities. And the parents are usually thinking in a more traditional way and not really thinking about more opportunities. So that's also a clash in the household, which happens a lot as well. I mean, sometimes you just need to let the kid play in the mud. You know, let them
and hopefully you got your own studio, or you know, you're off by yourself.
Yes. Of course, you should also, you know, protect all the stuff you have. You know, leave out the glass and stuff like that.
That's your mindset.
Yes.
That's your organization mindset. It all clicks together.
Yes, it's like a dynamic environment, you know. These young kids need to be more dynamic. They need to learn how to be flexible. And I think that is really important to look at it as a parental perspective. You know, I'm not talking about other parents, but I think for me, it's important to do that.
Yes, very much so. Yay. I got to clap on that one.
Thank you.
Nicky, I'd love to address what Ramon talked about, because a lot of people misunderstand when I say I'm in leadership, what does that really mean? And frankly, when I go, they think I'm going to be sticking in the C-suite. I said, no, you're joining me with the employees that are working in the field, or they're working in the plants. I said, you're getting out of the C-suite and coming with me. So that's the first thing in leadership. I said 75% in the U.S. Will be millennials of our entire workforce within 2 years. So I don't know post-COVID, because that was prior to COVID. So it may accelerate even more. And of course, their thought processes, I want to know, so I do research and stuff saying, what are they looking for? Well, they got, generally a number of points. One is they certainly need to be decently paid, because a lot of them have a tremendous student debt. In fact,
Yes.
our student debt here in the U.S. is over mortgage debt. That's how large it is.
Wow.
Yes.
Which is just,
That's
it's
different.
just crazy. So they have to have it so they can pay their bills, and they're talented people. And they're going to be 75% of the workforce in 2 years. So if you ignore the millennials, in which a lot of C-suite people go, well, they let other people, their team leaders, et cetera, hire them. I said, no, you need to be involved. Now, what I'm teaching them is you need to communicate with them through virtual things, whether it be Zoom or Google Meets or what, but you need to tap in so they know you. Mall internationally. They started as a family business, and he still incognito visits his hotels all across the world. And he will go in and see every area, talk to the employees, find out what they're thinking about, seeing, if the job is being done, never in a negative way. It's a build-up, but he is taking notes about maybe things he would change. And then he has a blog that he puts together. So he shares it with the entire workforce, executives, the employees. They're all on the same page. I like that. So that's one of the things I kind of tell leaders: don't be hidden, be visible.
Amen.
And of course, now you can do it virtually, but let them know you really care about them.
Yes.
And know what they care about. That's the thing. A lot of them don't even know what the millennials care about. And if they're going to be 75% of the workforce, for goodness sakes, we need to know what are at least the top 4 things they're looking for. One of them is remote work. However, this is the problem, is that since everybody just went to remote like overnight, within 4 months, I mean, this was going to happen over a period of time. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to respond. The company culture is not able to be imparted to them. That my presence was necessary to be out with my people and not sitting in a chair or in a big executive suite. Did I have one? I have one, and I spent very little time in it. Why? Because you've got to be with the people. You got to be with sales and service and customer service and employees in the plant. I mean, they got to know what you're thinking. And I would ask them questions. I remember these little ladies handling these heavy things, and I said, how is this for you? And they go, frankly, it's very difficult. I said, we're going to fix this. I didn't know how. So I got a team together, and what we did is we came up, and I said, and I'm sure Leslie Wexner won't mind. He was the CEO of a company. He's retired now, but he allowed me to get photograph and video his concept of how to move items where you can do it with a finger. And these ladies were, they had to do so much physical work. And now they could do, like with their finger, they could move things along rapidly. So would that have ever happened if I didn't go in the field? No, absolutely not. So that's part of leadership as well, is getting people out of the C-suite and getting them in the field, or getting them on virtual and see what's going on in the field. Even I'm looking forward to when you have the what is it, Ramon, where you wear those glasses. It's artificial
virtual
VR,
reality.
AR.
AR.
Virtual reality.
Absolutely, I'm all for it. I have a lot to learn, but I learned by being able to see what can I do to help our people be more successful. And I certainly don't want them to have shoulder problems or any other issues and stuff. And you can't do that from sitting in some C-suite. So a lot of people think, oh, you're a leadership coach. You're always in the C-suite. No, I tell them, that's the last thing you are going to be in. You're coming with me and we're going out in the field. That's when we were allowed there. Now I'm telling them, now you're going to have to learn what I'm doing with you, and you need to do it virtually with your people, with your team leaders, with your employees. They got to know you. They got to see you. They got to say, yes, I buy into what you say. And let me tell you, when a CEO knows something needs to be fixed, they're going to fix it. They'll get the right team together. They'll make it happen. And so you got to find out what they need. You can't find out what they need if you're just sitting in a darn C-suite. So that's enough of my sermon up there, Vicki.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. I think we've come a long way. I mean, I remember back in the 80s when, we talked to, I used to be a consultant when I was in the early 20s. I used to talk to C-suite level people. And, first thing I asked, like, how do you communicate to your lower level? I mean, management, in fact, right? Or even employees. You gotta have to be present. You gotta have to be visible. You guys go to restaurants, right? And you see sometimes there's a general manager or manager will walk around the table and say, hey, how's your food? How are you doing? Or, you're at a regular restaurant and they would come up and, you guys go, making us very like at home. This is our second home being out, because we could have stayed home. We could have stayed home and cook, but instead we pay a little bit of money for, to get their food and then to pay for their service. That's what we pay for, service. But instead we pay a little bit of money for, to get their food. And in the reverse of that mentality, though, is as a leader, you exactly. I mean, there's a lot of, yeah, right. There are a lot of great leaders out there. I would say, don't quote me on this, but I mean, we can name one or two or three that are just naturally born leaders. But leadership is definitely a learnable skill. It's a teachable skill. We go through progress, right? As leaders.
Yes.
And I want to share with you guys this quote that I always stand by with this quote. It's, during crisis or disasters do not recognize your title. Disasters do not recognize who you are, what you are, right? Your title, your gender, your ethnicity, your financial status, your political status, your all of this, right? When disaster, your title, unfortunately, when disaster strikes, we all come together and unite together, and we see the real humanity inside. All of this, right? When disaster, when it's almost like when it's good time, people hate each other or something. When it's a bad, when disaster strikes, we all come to time. People kind of come together. I think we should stay on that with momentum,
Nicky,
with a mindset of, I don't want the COVID to stay forever, like Roman was saying, it'll go each other or something. Let's back away.
Can I say something for a second?
I want to hear Mohammed. Yes, go ahead. There.
I just want to take a moment.
You insert a little bit about your employees.
Okay, just to give everybody a little bit of background about what I do. I'm a professional engineer. I'm an immigrant. So talking about what Nick said, it's resonate with me. I came from Iraq 36 years ago, and I started my journey and went to school and became a professional engineer. And I have the privilege to work on one of the greatest projects in the whole wide world, building a bridge between Detroit, Michigan, and Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Wow.
So not get into the
area.
Politics of it. I hope I'm not trying to get into that at all. I'm just trying to talk from a sustainability. There's so much economy. There's so much trade that goes back and forth between Michigan and not just Michigan, but all the states, whether it's Ohio, whether it's, you name it, all the states that do have borders with Canada will benefit from that. So we have one one single bridge that allows for trucks, and it's built in the early 1900s. It's a vintage. So we have been on a journey to build this bridge, and right now we're in construction year number 2, and we have made tremendous progress. So talking about sustainability and talk about working from home, but yet able to continue to make the progress and meet the schedule is really a huge challenge. But our Canadian team and the US team working so well together. I guess when there is a will, there is a way, and there is a will to get it done. And we're making every possible way to make it happen. And I'm so excited to say that by the end of 2024, we'll be open to traffic, and will be a great 6-lane bridge crossing the Detroit River between Windsor and Detroit. And again, it's a huge progress, but just a little bit to say that what makes it so exciting, Gordie Howe, a lot of you probably will remember, great hockey player that played for the Detroit Red Wings. He's originally from Canada, but he was able to bridge the gap and basically play for Detroit for 25 years. So we named the bridge after him. So it's called the Gordie Howe International Bridge. And it's basically connecting Detroit community and Windsor community.
Wow.
So I'll pause, and if there are any
That's
questions.
amazing.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
Nice.
And you had to have sustainability to get that done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all of the shows of Goldie Hawn's, by the way. I really like the conversations. And I think I want to just mention Mark, right? You're in
Yes.
the trade show business, you said?
In the trade show industry, correct.
So there's no virtual opportunities for you. There's no virtual opportunities for you whatsoever
Wow.
during this time.
It's almost like, you know, I can work this industry without having any type of contractor's license or anything like that. I have skills that I could probably put into like homes and storefronts and such like that, but I don't actually have a contractor's license to do so. And there's a lot of companies like me out here that can do that. So
No one's doing an outdoor trade show. I've seen so many, like, I was in Newport Beach. I saw like a farmer's market. Like, there's people outside. You can't do an outdoor trade show?
That'd be part of a producer. You know, they're the producers of the show. They're going to set it up, and like I said, there's probably 50 to 60 of us that are signatory with our union that can do what I do. And so, I mean, if I get called in to help out with something like that, then I'm definitely going to be there. But more than likely, they've already got their people set. It's just like people who do storefronts and such, when they set the cabinets up, you know, like in a jewelry store for people and decorate the stores. That's part of my industry in a sense too. But, you know, if I don't have those contacts to do that, I won't get that work. Does that make sense?
And they're not.
Again, Michelle?
What do I do? I'm actually a part-time teacher, and beside that, I have my own company. With health, and I'm a health ambassador, and I help people get tested if they have the right balance with nutrition in their bodies. So, and after COVID, I only had a small business before COVID in Denmark, and after COVID,
Wow, good for you.
So I'm having a lot of meetings actually on Zoom, and trying to keep up, having a family, and I actually found out that my heart has a lot to say. So I also love doing posts on LinkedIn, and I've got a new family on LinkedIn. Some of them are here.
I work with a company, Danlock organization, and we work all online, and it's all remote work. and it's basically helping companies to scale their businesses in the new online world. So that's basically what I do.
How is everything over there in Vancouver?
Are getting higher, so we might end up going into lockdown again. So.
So you were moving, right?
By the way, that's not unusual. We're seeing that in a lot of spots.
Right. There's no signing up. If you are planning to attend for next Friday, just go ahead and sign in like you did this morning, the same time at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I do not want to do the screen share because it's going to probably boot me out, right? You guys cannot hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Saving the bandwidth. So yeah, just use that, and we're gonna take you to Southeast Asia and India. Great conversation. Continue to same topics, sustainability, and great speakers as well. And I believe Dr. Michael Barbera, he's out in Texas, going to speak as well. So, you know, I'll try to play Australia, David Johnson from Australia, what he had responded to, you know, to the question of how they're coping with the cases and the 100 free days and stuff like that. And I want to invite also Arlene, if you want to come back and talk about Brazil, how you doing over there as well for next week.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah,
if
we'd love
you
it
have
too.
time, if you have time, so we can go ahead and you know, include you on the panelists as well for next week. Other than that, guys, not much here. I mean, you know, we talk a lot about mindset. I think I hear a lot about that, and you know, leading in a crisis time, it takes a lot of, I want to say gut, right? Intuition and empathy, kind of.
And may I be honest?
All of these things.
Sometimes a push.
Part of it being a human, you know. I'm sorry.
Sometimes you give them a push.
Well, I think what's happening too is that unfortunately Washington is playing politics, and it's taking the brunt on human lives. You know, I see so many people walking around Los Angeles with shopping carts with all their belongings, and it's increasing every day.
Yeah.
People
To see them under bridges.
Yes.
And you know, it's hard to be safer at home when you don't have a home.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, you know, if you say, hey, you know, safety, being safe and everything, it is a personal responsibility, right? We must stay that way. Not necessarily being selfish. However, when we do have crisis or tragedy like fire season, like right now, reach out to your friends, reach out to your neighbors. You know, they're only a phone call away. Reach out to I call you guys my neighbors, because it's only a text away, a phone call away. We're all virtually connected here, right? That's what it's all about. That's what
one
it's
thing
all
that's come out
about.
of this whole, you know, this whole pandemic is that, you know, we can reach across the globe, right, to talk to each other and share ideas.
So
you know,
exactly.
I think this pandemic has actually brought people a lot closer around the world. You know, look at us now. I mean, we have people from Sweden, we have people from Brazil, Vancouver. I mean, everywhere. It's amazing.
It's made a small world now.
Yeah, it really is.
And what you realize is that the same problems you think are at your home are the same around the world too.
Around the world,
It's all interconnected, guys. It's interconnected, like we said in series 1. But here's the thing. I really would like you guys also to speak in your language. This is gonna get interesting. When you come on and then say something in the video like, hi, hello, how are you? Next time, all right? Or you can do it right now if you have time. Do we have time right now? Just say hello. Different languages.
I love that.
Yes.
It would be nice.
I think that's going to be great, like something Jumpa. I want to hear Brazil. I want to hear Netherlands, you know. I want to hear, I don't know, next time we're going to see India next week. I mean, it's great. And you know what? There's only few things, and those few things is our heart, ourselves.
Amen.
Our humility, our kindness. It's a smile. It's a love that's transparent. And we can feel it, right? When we talk.
Yes.
When we communicate like this way,
Amen.
we
It's that
feel the love, right?
Yes.
Say yes, you feel the love.
Yes.
You feel the
Yes
love.
to the
So you're not
love.
alone.
Yes, the love.
Yeah.
It's the love. You're not alone. You know, you need to be collected. You can be honest. Ramon said, I gotta go sleep now. All right, guys, I think it's been very, very well resonating to a lot of us today. You know, if anybody wants to say anything, last things, go ahead and do that. And we just asked for post survey. And then we'll see you again next Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Same time.
Nicky, I want to thank you for inviting me on this. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I think we all got a great event.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you.
You got it, Robert. All right. And
Thank you,
Mohammed,
Nicky.
thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Nikki.
So very much. Yeah, thank you so much. Friday,
Thank you
okay?
for putting it
All right,
together.
I love you guys. And then stay
Thank
safe.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye, Michelle.
Bye.
Bye bye bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Yep, at a workplace.
Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Ebony with iDARE saying thank you.
And to volunteer some of our expertise and our services to iDARE.
For this little guy.